Thanks for tuning in to A Couple of Nobodies podcast. Jeff and Brian are your nobodies, and this week they talk with Tyler Richardson. Enjoy part 1 of their conversation with Tyler. We encourage you to be authentic, follow Jesus, do good, and stay faithful.
Yeah. Why don't you jump in, since he's your friend?
I don't... Okay.
Yeah.
Brian, it's just a couple of nobodies here on the couch again.
Yep.
This is not my friend. I'm going to be dead level honest. I don't know that I really liked Tyler.
Interesting.
I met Tyler as a probably 15-year-old kid.
You were a 15-year-old.
No, he was 15.
He was 15.
I was youth pastoring here locally.
Okay.
And Tyler was friends with a bunch of kids in my youth group. And he would sometimes come hang out.
So now he wasn't in your youth group.
No. But he would just sometimes come hang out. And when he would come hang out, he was a nuisance. Like,
oh, no. We don't know the same person. There's no way.
So clearly
Brian,
who
can't relate
I'm
to the
introducing
story.
is not who you know.
No, there's no way.
Who you know is Tyler, this creative songwriter, worship leader,
Yeah,
author, and more.
sure.
I knew Tyler, the 15-year-old kid who just drove me crazy youth pastor.
Me and Tyler share the same spiritual mentor father.
Okay.
That's who. This was like my kid brother that it's like we were too close in age really to be brother. It's just wow. That's who chasing the same Jesus experience, Holy Spirit, pushing every boundary we can think of, trying so hard to live right. Right? Like that Christian college experience where it's God called you to ministry. Because if God didn't get you, the devil definitely was going to get you.
That's the tracks.
Right. It was, God needed to keep you on a short leash. I feel like that was me and
Yeah.
Tyler. We needed to be on a short leash. Otherwise, we were going to devastate in all the wrong ways.
I feel like that's a lot of people I know. They are called to ministry just so they would stay saved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's at this point, I feel like the
Yeah, I
Lord's
could see
we
that.
can't trust him with the devil. We don't need to put the two of them together. Me and Tyler, it was Lee University, basically instantaneously friends.
Yeah. One of the first people I met.
Yeah. Instantaneously friends. And Tyler actually has a brother.
Yeah, we know that.
You know.
I know that.
I don't know his brother.
Yeah.
And I think I'm real comfortable keeping it that way. Gerald, I think is his name, maybe. Gerald, something like
So
that.
stupid.
Jer. So, but for a lot of people, Tyler was the kid brother, but he wasn't for me. So I
Well,
think that made us friends.
So because I'm a little bit older than you guys, I know the brother that we're not naming. And he was in the choir that you guys were
so
in.
dramatic.
And laid a foundation of excellence, I think, that was tough to follow.
Yeah.
That tracks. That's true.
Yeah.
Jeff, did you know Jeremy really well?
No, not really well. We just kind of were.
Okay.
We had some overlap.
Okay.
He was in campus choir. He was the king of campus choir. Let's be honest, at the time. And
So they tell us.
that's what they say. I mean, there's a recording to prove it, I think.
There's a couple.
Yeah, and so we were just in similar circles, and then I was interning at Church of God Prophecy, and you guys were Church of God Prophecy, and there was just overlap, but we didn't ever really hang out. We just knew of each other. So I wouldn't say I'm friends with Jeremy. I think I became friends with Jeremy when they moved back here, and
Okay, yeah.
that's only because my wife and Amy are friends, because for a short while they lived in the same small town in Virginia. That's a whole side track.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So y'all weren't friends because we
No,
all
we're not
have
friends. We knew
our
each other.
wife has a friend and we
Yeah.
kind of have to be friends with the husband.
I mean, we
We're
knew
going
each
out
other.
with Sarah, and I'm like, great.
Yeah.
You and Greg can talk. Oh, thanks.
We knew each other,
Right.
but it's a long story.
Okay.
So the tangled
No,
up
I
church
get that.
stories.
Okay. Tyler, you grew up. We're all here in Cleveland, Tennessee, and you grew up here.
I grew up here, yeah. I lived here pretty much all up until college, we lived in Nashville for 1 year.
Right.
I was in 4th grade. And then the rest of the time I was in Cleveland.
Yeah. I do feel like Tyler is a little bit the guy who, because he lived in Nashville for 1 year in 4th grade, if he was on The Voice, he would be like, hometown Nashville.
Hendersonville. That's, yeah.
Hendersonville.
I'd make it a little more local.
Yeah. Because it's cooler if you're local.
Yeah, he would go back and they're like,
Yeah.
we're going to do a video at your high school. And he's like, no, let's do it at the Civic Center.
The elementary school I attended.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Nanny Berry.
How many youth groups were you a part of in high school in Cleveland?
I was technically only really a part of one. I was introduced to youth group at my home church, but we only had about 5 to 7 of us. And most of them were extremely young. I was easily the oldest. Even at 14 or 15, I was easily the oldest. And we didn't have a youth pastor. We would just have some like parent come with like a Sunday school packet and play some DC Talk on the stereo. And we would do Sunday school packets. And that was youth group. And I couldn't hang. So I would go back and forth to Peerless. And then I had a friend who invited me to a youth group at North Cleveland, which I'd never been invited to a youth group by somebody. And growing up Church of God Prophecy, to leave that to go to a Church of God church was like the absolute, you cannot.
Yeah.
And I was honestly shocked my parents even let me go visit. And then I went, and then that was my youth group the rest of high school.
It was like youth group wars, honestly. Like,
Honestly.
it was like whoever had the big event, that's where the kids went. Like Westmore would do a banging event and they would fill it up. And then North Cleveland would do an event, and I was trying to do events but never was catching up. It was like who could capture the most Christian kids or kids that were already Christians.
Yeah.
It was a different time.
And people who don't know, Cleveland is like the Jerusalem of the South.
Yes.
Where Jerusalem is
Yes.
like the home of all of these religions.
Yes.
We're home of all of these Pentecostal
Right.
denominations.
Yes.
And Church of God and Kogop, especially back then, there was a very Jacob Esau thing happening.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Right. It was
Well, even in youth groups, you knew youth groups the way churches know churches.
Yeah.
So I didn't know South Cleveland. I knew the youth group from South Cleveland, or I knew the youth group from First Baptist, or I knew the youth group at Peerless or whatever. We didn't associate the churches that the youth groups were in. We only thought of youth groups to youth group.
Yeah. Okay, now you still travel from church to church.
I do. Yeah, not as much as we used to in the sense of multiple churches. Right now, there's only like 2 to 3 churches we kind of do on like a rotation, but
Yeah.
at least right now.
So I'm glad we can all be mature about this, and I will no longer judge Tyler as the 14-year-old kid if he doesn't judge me as the really bad youth pastor I was at 24.
No, negative. No.
Those
Tyler,
sermons
what
were
are your
terrible.
memories of Jeff?
Those sermons
no.
were
Do
terrible.
Do you have like? Do you remember going to like the marshmallow eating contest and Jeff was up there like, "Come on, guys, let's
Chubby
do
bunny?
it." Yeah.
I do remember they had a new youth room. That was big news.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah,
were
the
a youth
one that
group
you
and you
that
had a
we still
new
have.
youth room. It was like, you gotta go.
Yeah.
You gotta go see the new youth room.
That was it.
And you had to see it back then. You couldn't like look on Instagram.
No. You had to go. You
Yeah.
had to dedicate yourself.
Yeah. You're in high school when MySpace hits. Am I right?
No, MySpace may exist, but I didn't have it really till freshman year, maybe of college.
Okay. Did
Because
you
I only
have
had it
social
maybe
media as a
1
youth
year
pastor?
or
No.
so before Facebook hit.
Okay.
I'm the second youth pastor, not when I was youth pastoring here. MySpace and Facebook came out as I was youth pastoring. Twitter became a thing, but it was like all by text. Like you would tweet text, there's no app.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was real infancy of social media, and I'm so glad. Gosh, I'd have probably been fired.
Dude, if my generation
His top friends list would have got him.
if
in
my
trouble.
generation had been like global, it would have been a problem. It would have
Ah,
been, there would have been wars.
If they documented half the things I did, like these kids do, I couldn't get a job now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, your hair was what color?
It was just like, I feel like I'm definitely old because I'm like, it was just a different time back then.
well, I remember
Rotary
MySpace. It was
phones.
more just like a blog site. It was like, okay.
Yeah.
But your top
Until
five
Facebook
list.
really got cooking.
For MySpace, yeah, top 5, all that stuff was a real
But
thing.
it was heated though. Don't miss it because you ordered your friends by like rank,
Mhm.
and you would put a
Yes.
song on there which told a lot about you. Like
Yeah.
it was heated. Don't miss it.
Yeah. It also kind of told what mood you were in. If you just
Yeah.
broke up or something like that.
Yeah.
Your
Okay.
song would let everybody know, like, you're in the spot.
I think I could say this really accurately. Like Tyler Richardson loves the church. We talk about youth group, talk about different churches, that kind of stuff. Like Tyler is a fan. Like loves the church. Mom and dad were in ministry. Your mom and dad also? Is that like that's how you know them, right?
Mom and dad, grandparents, everybody.
Deep ministry family.
Okay. Was there this time when you were like, you know, there's no way I'm ever doing like church ministry? Or were you always pulled and like, yeah, let's do it?
I was probably always pulled to it in some capacity. If there were facets that I didn't want to do it, if I'm honest, my brother had made such a name for him in ministry that anything I did looked like it wasn't because I was called to it. It looked like I was, clutching at, the back of somebody who had done it before me, or I just did what my family did. It looked
Okay.
like it was an automatic response. It didn't look like something that I wanted to do, I felt called to do. It looked like something I automatically fell into, which with some people made it look like something I didn't earn, something I didn't deserve, something I didn't have the right to be a part of. So then that made it a very cyclical feeling of you guys can have this. Like, I don't want anything to do with this. And then the other part would probably be I saw often in the church circles I was connected to that they were really committed to their idea of ministry more than ministry. So then if there's a ministry down the road that's doing really well, it doesn't matter the random 2 things they're doing that make their ministry run really well. It's not our thing, so we're not doing it.
Mm.
So we will go down with this shit if we have to. We will not change because this is what makes us us. And so then it was like, well, why would I want to fight tooth and nail my entire life for something only because this is my club? I can never do it different. I can never bring in outside people. I can never open the doors. I can never have it without having these types of events and these types of offices. And I have to call this person bishop and I have to have this person do this and I have to this. I was like, I'm not interested in any of that. But I also wasn't interested in the group of people that was very popular at the time, where everybody had to kind of go semi-homeless and be like, I remember there was some book, maybe y'all remember, but it was
Shane Claiborne?
yes.
Yeah.
What was the name of that book?
I don't remember, but he basically was like living on the street with people to be Jesus.
Yes.
Be like Jesus. He's still doing that up in like Philadelphia or something.
Yeah. Basically, this one guy, the concept of what he did, I thought was great, but then it got very trendy, and everybody was like, "Well, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna live on under a bridge somewhere, live the Jesus life." And so then I was very stuck in the middle. I didn't really love this. I'm extremely churchy to my core, so I loved like the steeple aspect, red carpet, hymnals, robes. It's beautiful. And then I honor, love, and respect the radical. I am praying for these lepers to be healed over here. And then I felt very stuck in the middle. Like, I love and support both. We'll probably lean to one another on different occasions, but I feel like there's no real slot for me in the middle, which made it feel like maybe I should do something different.
So what is life like as a quasi outsider of the religious circle?
Wow. That was a really well worded question. He was like a thesaurus guy over here. I would say it's pretty tough because most of the people I really look up to, they had to spend almost all of their energy not creating and most of their energy convincing.
Hmm.
So that to me is very difficult because it if you stick to it, you lose 10, 20, who knows how many years because all of your energy is not going into creating and building something new that people can be a part of. It's spent on convincing the people who are currently in charge of the budget, currently in charge of the infrastructure, currently in charge of the Chamber of Commerce, whatever the thing may be, and be like, no, I promise you this will work. I promise you this could have merit. I promise you that people will respond to this. And you do it so much that honestly, the the seesaw effect is that you're constantly just living in fatigue because you're not inspired to convince, you're inspired to create or to build. But if you have to use all of your energy to convince, to get a thimble full of what you wanted to create it to see the light of day. So that's what is it's pretty a tricky spot because then I feel like if you're the quasi, however you worded it so beautifully, in the middle, you're mostly tired. Um, and you always feel like you have an opportunity to help create bridges. But what I've noticed often, far too often, not all the time, but far too often in ministry, people want to build their own bridge to another version of themselves. People don't want a bridge to connect them to something else. I want to be an island to myself. I also want to build a bridge unto myself. So I'm still a bridge builder and I'm still an island. So I get the benefits of both, but I never actually put myself in a vulnerable state to be connected to something that is not necessarily who I am. And I also don't get to have a vote in how I'm connected to. So then that's where you have to spend all your convincing energy, if that makes sense.
It becomes so weird because I think that people will go with me because they believe, and this idea that these people believe but don't buy in.
Yeah.
And so I'm not trying to get people to believe. They can believe. They believe
Right.
in Jesus. They believe in this. But then when it comes to the buy-in,
Mm-hmm.
where we not just give financially, but when we put our skin in the game, when we go for it, um, like it's not even people that will buy in to them doing it. It's people won't even buy in sometimes to give you permission to do it.
Hmm.
So I think there are gatekeepers. They
Yeah.
believe what I believe, like from a 30,000 foot view. Jesus, salvation, eternity. They believe this, but then when it comes to the the methods and the innovation and the creativity, the art of it,
Right.
all of those things, it's like, yeah, I believe, but I ain't buying into that.
Hmm.
And then I, as a pastor, a leader, a worship leader, a worshiper, songwriter, any of those things, you're not trying to show people something to believe in. You're trying to get their buy-in, and that is exhausting. At what point in your life did you realize that I'm I'm having to convince people? When did it really shift from this young creative just creating to like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna have to convince some people to go or to open the gate.
Yeah. I think for me, it was when I started exploring areas of creativity, music, whatever it might be. When I started exploring areas outside of quote unquote worship, is where I noticed the sandpaper really starting to happen. So
Right.
I don't know if it was people just naturally liked, or at least the people I was around naturally liked what I did with worship. The second I started talking about graphic design, the second I started talking about marketing, the second I started talking about ministerial admin things, the second I was like, I saw this isn't really a ministry or a churchy thing, but I saw this movie or I saw this documentary or I saw this event. I actually feel like we could implement some of the things they do. The second I left my worship lane, I noticed it very quickly turned into a scenario where I had not noticed before people's very tightly gripped ownership identity with certain things. And then that was probably the most bizarre thing because then I mean, in my brain, I'm not thinking I'm better than anybody. I'm not thinking I'm the smartest person in the room. I'm like, oh, well, this will probably help.
Yeah.
These people want to help people. So me giving an idea that's helpful for the sake of helping other people, obviously, what could be the problem? And then I found out very quickly that was my first introduction to micromanagement. That was my first introduction to passive aggressiveness. That was my first introduction to a lot of that world that I wasn't really familiar with. So it was a very ice cold bath of reality.
Yeah.
Did that kick in after you left college?
Yeah, I had a very long stint when I left Lee, and then when I graduated Lee, there was like a long stint in the middle. But yes, my first stint when I left Lee, did some different ministry things. That was I would have been maybe 20-ish. Was the first time I ran into a lot of that.
So do you see yourself as a holy rebel in the sense of pushing boundaries, pushing the limits, pushing the creativity in some ways?
Man, my man's a wordsmith over here. I don't know if I would naturally call myself a holy rebel because there's so many things I get extremely agitated and offended at a lack of holy reverence.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I would go full blown holy rebel. I feel like it's probably a little bit more of a I heard it put this way in an audiobook just this week. It's like a concerned follower.
Mm.
Like I want to make sure that I'm enlightened to the reality of what we're going for, why we're going for it, and how we're going together. So I think to me, it is a situation of the easiest way. I hate to be this guy to pull a Bible verse, but in the Old Testament, when it is talking about how the children of Israel, they're leaving Egypt, they're going to the promised land. I have heard it taught my whole life that the reason they went through 40 years of the wilderness, the reason they had to do all of this stuff, it could have been a couple weeks, but it turned into 40 years. And the reason was because they had bad attitudes. They kept rebelling. They kept building golden calves. They kept doing this. They kept doing that. And then at the beginning of that story, though, I'd never seen this in my entire life until recently. It says that God looked and considered the children of Israel and said, you know what? If they see the giants, they may turn around because they don't have it in them to fight a battle. They'll turn around and go to Egypt. So in reality, it was always kind of pitched to me that the wilderness was a punishment for the children of Israel because they had bad attitudes, because they wouldn't shut their mouths, so on and so forth. But in reality, it was initiated as an act of mercy because God was like, the only way the children of Israel are even going to get to the promised land is they're going to have to do this right now because they can't handle these battles. So to me, it's a situation where I'm like, okay, I'm looking around and I'm like, what is taking us 40 years that should have taken us 2 weeks? And even though we're frustrated, it's actually an act of mercy on God's part, but it's because we won't allow ourselves to become more cognizant of the battles around us. And instead of us growing up in whatever the area that is, maybe I need to grow up in my vulnerability. I need to grow up in my charity. I need to grow up in taking more care of the older people in my church, or I need to start taking more care of the single mothers in my church, whatever the case is. Me refusing to grow up in that area is forcing myself into a 40-year journey. And I would rather shake whatever cages I can in myself and those around me to either cut that 40 years in half or prevent us from other 40-year ventures in the future, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think we sometimes oversimplify you definitely have this thing where the scripture teaches that he doesn't take them like the shortest path because there was going to be a battle and they weren't ready for war.
Right.
So he takes them the longer path. And that longer path, we know geographically is not a 40-year journey. And so then we assume that the entire 40 years is a result like of this constant state of rebellion and attitude. When the truth is, we don't know how long he would have led them in the wilderness. Like, we don't know that that the Lord, absent a rebellious pause, that it would have been as fast as possible. Because even when they get there, there's difficulties.
Right.
They do struggle with the giants. They do struggle with those things. That the Lord is a God that loves process. So as a trailblazer, there is sometimes an absence of patience. It's really easy to run off and leave people. That's where when we started the conversation, one of the things I love about Tyler, I love this about you, I think we all share this. I love the church, bro.
Yeah.
I love the church. And so if we're talking about sometimes that slow adoption that I struggle with, or it's not even adoption, it's like negation. I won't do it.
Yeah.
I may struggle with the church in those things, but we're not abandoning her. Me and Tyler and another guy drove 2 hours to a Jason Upton concert in college, listening to choir music the whole way. And I remember we literally had the conversation. Do you think anywhere in the world there are 3 other guys listening to Brooklyn Tab
On CD, probably.
Yeah, on CD in his mom's car.
Yeah.
Never. But like really, there was this element of the church, the steeple, the choir. There's no good part, beautiful part of the church do I want to abandon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But there is this slow adoption that's hard.
Yeah, I think the struggle, and just my own struggle, is like anytime I take like when these personality tests, one of the things that comes up is this idea of being a futurist, an idea person, somewhat creative, not on the level of creativity of Tyler, but I think the impatience comes when you see things nobody else sees. And you're like, oh, I see 5 years from now what we need to do today. Because it's going to make us better 5 years from now. And I think the hardship of that is the church is slow in process, and they're going, but we don't need that today. But then you're like trying to sound the alarm and be the alarmist and be like, but 5 years from now, we will.
That's really good.
Yeah.
And so if we don't do it today, we're going to be in trouble in 5 years. And they're like, but we don't need it today. We're going to be okay today. And I think that's sort of the rub sometimes of people who are creative, because they're not necessarily creating for today. They're creating for what they see into the future. And the church doesn't always want to see the future. And I love the church. You're right on. I love steeples, and I love contemporary church. I love choirs, and I love Map City. What I don't love is with them when you're not being effective.
So you grew up Pentecostal university, then you have in-between periods of ministry involved in like parachurch stuff. Like I know because we're friends, you were involved in stuff that wasn't really a church, but it was like a constant, one big long conference of sorts.
Yes.
Music.
1 10-year-long conference.
Yeah, exactly. And then you get married and go out west. And
We do. We go to Northern California.
Yeah. You go to Northern California and do a couple years out there with Bethel. So I feel like you've seen the way God moves or is allowed to move in the Southeast, which is a lot of my experience. Mm-hmm. And then you see a different thing out there. How has that caused you now? How's that equipped you in order to like love your way through the convincing?
Yeah. I would say the thing I have learned the best is in the South, I feel like I learned a very valuable tool, which is if you don't go, by God, I'm going. I'm about to climb this hill by myself if I have to. And if you don't want to go, that's fine. You enjoy your religious seat. But by God, I'm hitting the mountaintop.
I hear the B3.
And
I hear the
I
organ.
mean, yes, I was fully acquainted with that. Going there, uh, to California, it was very California. It was very, don't try so hard. Just let God do it. Just enjoy his presence. Just take your shoes off, lay down, stand up, clap, do whatever you want to do. It doesn't really, he's just glad you're here. And also, it's just very obviously totally different. Here in South, if you want to break through, you better get loud. Uh,
Yeah.
in the West, it's like your breakthrough was one 5 years ago. Didn't you know? Need to relax. So that world was very different. I do think though that what was the most helpful for me in California was I learned the value of people that I don't think I learned in the South.
Mm.
In the South, people were a lot more of, are you on board or are you off? Because we got stuff to do. And if you're not on board, that's totally fine, but you need to go because I need to get somebody that's on board because I got stuff to do. There, the culture was very, I'm going to shut this whole thing down just to tell this person right here how amazing I think they are. Now, sometimes we can hear that in the South and we think that that means that that person was suicidal. So I had to shut everything down and let this person know, listen, you have a life worth living. Don't give up, something like that. But no. They would shut everything down to be like, hey, Sharon, can we just take a minute? I just want to say, Sharon this week has just done an amazing job and she's so pleasant and so joyful. And when she walks in, it's like everybody can exhale and everybody can just feel like everything's going to be taken care of because Sharon's at the helm and she never complains. Does anybody else have anything else you want to say about Sharon? And then before you know it, you've blinked and 30 minutes has gone by and we haven't done anything that we really actually need to do because we have been lavishing on Sharon. But what they would communicate is like the heart of the Father over Sharon. That to me made such a big difference. And that honestly has fueled my desire for us to think about things a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Because as valuable as the facets of what I learned in the South is, to me, when you pair these two, the strength, it's very much the one can put 1,000, two can put 10,000. It is like, it's not just that it's more powerful and strong together. It's like the momentum of the two together, the impact is so much more severe in a very positive way that I think it has made me want to figure out what else can be combined. What other strengths are we not getting because we're worried or insecure about what that fusion might look like? Now, obviously, as we all know, there are some things that should not be fused, but what could be fused that would actually add strength that we are intimidated to try?
Was there a frustration period for you going over there and learning that? Like, were you?
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm assuming you're talking about real experience, not like a principle of loving Sharon. You're talking about an actual 30, 45-minute meeting. Are you
Absolutely.
sitting there going,
Well,
what the crap are we doing,
every
guys?
every official meeting they have, business meeting, staff meeting, budget meeting, it does not matter. Every meeting, 10% of that meeting is spent in testimonies, period. That is a rule of law. So if it is a 2-hour meeting, we're spending 20 minutes on testimonies and we're not talking about anything else until we get those testimonies in. Or if it's a 10-minute meeting in the hallway, really quick, hey, really quick, 60 seconds, what we got? What's God been doing? So when I get there, I'm like sweating. I'm like, we can't be serious.
No,
Like,
we
we
got
have
rid of
honestly,
testimonies in our churches, bro.
yeah,
We stopped that.
we
We
like,
put the hymnals away.
and well, like the first couple of times I was like, oh, this is cute. I like this. This is nice. This is sweet. And then when you go into an important meeting, quote unquote, and they still do it, it's like, okay, I get it, but we have actual things we need to accomplish. And I remember when we first got there, I never would have gone there that I know of. My wife Kennedy really felt the pull, and it was really out of the pull that she felt that we went. And then I remember when we first got there, everybody's hugging strangers. Everybody's hugging, be like, "Oh, what's your name? Oh, your name's Tyler. Give me a hug and stuff." It's like just not. I'm not feeling it on any level. I'm like, I don't. I've hugged 100 strangers in about 25 minutes. This is just not. Some people are shaking. Some people are crying. Some people are passed out. Some people are giggling, and there's just all of this stuff happening at the exact same time. It's as far away as you could possibly get from my upbringing. And to me, almost all of it was a waste of time because I had been trained, and I think there's a lot of value in the concept of this, but I'd been trained. We are here on the earth to get to work. All right. The kingdom of God is to be imposed. All right. There's a single mom on this street. We don't need to pray for her. We need to go give her groceries. We need to put some money in her account. We need to bring her kids coats. We don't need to roll around in the floor and sing about the goodness of God. We got stuff to do. Or I'm not just going to sit here and sing a couple songs and listen to a self-help sermon. No, because we got to pray and bring down the demonic strongholds of China. So I can't, whatever it is, I've got to be at work in what I'm doing.
Almost like
So being
wartime.
there, it was very much, constant. War is always on. There, it was very much, complete opposite. It was, you need to relax. You need to, there, and some of it I loved and really benefited from. Some I think was too far. Just like in the South, some facets of it was too far, but the anchor points of it to me were the best.
So Tyler, how do you marry two things that feel maybe not in opposition, but on opposite ends of a spectrum?
The first thing I did was I would operate in the opposite when I was in the other location. So if I would lead worship at Bethel, I would purposefully try to find elements of those facets of Southern ministry, or however you want to label it, and I would implement it there. I would obviously want to grow in that environment and be adjusted and evolve for what that environment had for me, but I also wanted to bring that facet from my upbringing into it to stay authentic to who I was. And I would see in those worship experiences, it be completely different, not because it was full-blown Pentecostal, but those Pentecostal root systems entwined with the prophetic and all of those things created something brand new, created something fresh. And then I would take those facets of things I learned in California and I would implement them in the South, and I would see the exact same ripple effect happen. So to me, I would say it's more of a thing of how are all of these things authentic to themselves, yet create something new that is authentic to me. And then I need to let the authenticity of who I now am connected to both of these things. I need to let an operation of that be manifested in front of me. So if that means if I'm in a church meeting or a non-church meeting, I can stop, and when somebody makes a great point, I can operate in that. Hey, I just want to say, like, I love the way you always come prepared. I actually love the way you think. I think God created you with the most interesting way to, even in this podcast, for example, it's like, Jeff, wordsmith extraordinaire. And it just literally, maybe you have it written down, but it feels like it's just naturally flowing out of your mouth. So that's something I don't have to try to figure out how to say something nice about Jeff. It's evident on Jeff. I just need to make the space for it to be an authentic expression for me towards Jeff. And then if I sing a song right now, what I need to do is not find out the best music I like right now. I need to find out how all of the music over the years that I've ingested can create an authentic and unique expression out of me right now. So to me, it's if it's 2 worlds, if it's 5 worlds, it doesn't matter. How do all of them collide to become an authentic and unique expression in you? And then I think the unique and authentic expression in you is going to make it receivable by somebody else. Because I know people that would listen to me that hate Bethel. And I know people who would listen to me that hate Pentecostalism. That they don't want to hear about T.D. Jakes. They don't want to hear about Rod Parsley. They don't want to hear about, Brooklyn Tabernacle or Straight Gate Mass Choir. Or they don't want to hear about Bethel or Morning Star or IHOP or Upper Room. But there's something about the authentic from me and the appreciation of all of it that I think it creates a very approachable door for others. So to me, it's how can you create an approachable door for others to enter worlds that they would never go to when it's just a full-blown on its own.
Do you tend to approach things and see the value as opposed to seeing the deficit? Is that a natural thing?
I would probably say my first reaction is probably the value, followed really quickly by where are growth opportunities.
Okay.
So where is it awesome? What can we remove to make it more awesome? I almost never just see something and be like, I don't like any of this. That's pretty rare for me. Now, but when I feel that strongly. I'm pretty much unmoved on it. But more than often, like if I walk into a church, even if it's like extremely seeker sensitive, I may walk in and I'll almost initially think any seeker sensitive church, a lot of times when I'll walk into, I almost always think, wow, this is a beautiful building. The facilities are amazing.
Yeah.
Their children's facility is amazing. The lobby is amazing. So I'll almost start there. And then as I daydream and kind of like mull some things over in my imagination, usually what will then happen is like, man, if they added just like this much to their greeting experience, or if they added barely anything to the person who is allowed to come up here and transition from music to announcements or whatever, like it would take it probably from a 5 to an 8 in my version of 5 to 8, not God's. So obviously this is all subjective, but that's usually what I'll do. I'll usually immediately see the immediate in front of my face, like, oh, I love this. And then I'll follow it up with like, where are the growth points that I'm like, man, I wish we could change this handful of things immediately because it would really uplift all this pretty quickly.
Yeah. All right.
And I do that in businesses. I do that in restaurants. I do that everywhere.
So are you more creative or are you more collaborative? Because that sounds like looking at all these things to see how they could collaborate with one another. Oh, if we took this thing from Bethel and we added it to a podcast. So now the end of our podcast, we're going to say, hey, by the way, I just want to say, here's 5 things that I've loved about you in our conversation for the last 35 minutes. I love this, 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 and this. And you're collaborating with these characteristics. Or are you like the creative? Give me the blank page and let me just create.
I'd probably say I'm creative on making the target, and then I'm collaborative on how can we get to the target.
Okay. Can you walk that
So
out?
I would
like
probably
examples?
So I'd probably say, okay, listen, here is a target. Here's a goal.
Yeah.
This is where we could be as an organization, as a church, whatever. This is what we could be. Now, we're really far from where that is. But now we at least know it's right here. We know it's not way out here. It's not over there. It's not over there. It's right here. We have an exact idea of where we're headed. So that way, the good news is we know when we're not getting to it because now we know where we are actually getting. So now how can we collectively get together and be like, what is the map we need for that?
Yeah.
Do we need a compass? What exactly do we need? Do we need to go by boat? Do we need to go by plane? Do we need to go by car? Can we walk? What is the best method look like? Who has strengths in what areas? And what at the end of the day can all of them collab together to get us to that goal? Because I if I'm honest, my biggest nightmare is getting somewhere to a goal that by the time I get to the goal, I've gotten there by myself.
Hmm.
Even if the goal is accomplished, it's not really a win to me, because if the collective group of people haven't understood the goal to the point where they got there too, then when I'm dead and gone, that goal also dies and is gone.
Yeah.
So to me, I would rather have something where there's a lot more reciprocity to the facet that now this whole map is a map that anyone can use, as opposed to, oh, did you hear the story that this one guy used a map one time to get to this one area? That doesn't mean a whole lot to me. It would mean a whole lot more to me to see somebody believe in themselves that that goal is worth them getting to, and then seeing the change in their lives because they themselves got to that goal.
So I'm going to coin a phrase here, I think.
Okay.
You're a creative cartographer. Like this idea of mapping and.
So there he goes. There he goes.
I mean, but what's the next step then, Tyler? I think as creatives, Brian and I both kind of have some creative ability, and we can see it. We can create the target. How are you the guy kind of galvanizing the team, or are you putting that on somebody else? Because I know, like, I'm really good with ideas. I'm a disaster at execution. Like, I'm just not the guy you want. Like I am not an executive pastor role, because I have like 30 new ideas, but we're not gonna do any of them. Because that's just not, like, it's just who I am. So do you feel like you are both the creator and the executor, or are you delegating that out?
I think I'm figuring that out currently.
Okay.
I think I'm learning predominantly right now the power of the hypothesis execution.
Okay.
So I'm noticing right now what's happening is, if I have an idea, I spent way too many years just telling people ideas. And I would know that I would know that I would know that this idea would work.
Right.
But unless they could just take a trip to my imagination, they never understood it.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it was a situation where I was like, okay, well, I need to start presenting a hypothesis experiment to people, to be like, listen, I'll do it myself. I will show you myself. You do A, B, and C. And then once you look at that experiment, you can let me know what your thoughts are on the hypothesis. I have mine. Mine could be, it worked immediately. Mine could be, I think it worked maybe 50% well. We can make some changes and move forward, but I would love to know, like, what you think. My experience so far, and honestly, I've only been doing this a few months, but my experience so far has been, when people see the hypothesis, they can start immediately get exciting, because now they can start filling the blanks in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so then it presents a thing where they may not necessarily give me creative ideas, but they may then be put in a situation, they're like, oh, well, and this could go one of two ways. It could go one way where they're like, oh, you don't need to do that because so-and-so's doing that.
Yeah.
Which maybe you created something because you didn't like what so-and-so was doing, so that may not be helpful to you. But sometimes on the flip side of the coin, what can happen is that they're like, wow, I never thought of that. We should try and implement this with this, and this. So when people see the experiment, the hypothesis put in front of them, it's a whole lot easier for them to connect to the idea, as opposed to, oh, I had this idea that we could do this event, that is this thing. So to me, it's figuring out what is the cheapest, easiest personal way that you yourself can create a hypothesis experiment that somebody can see, and then make a decision point on. Even if they don't believe in it, I think it presents you an opportunity where you can still trust in your own momentum to move forward. To me, that's the biggest bonus of AI currently. Is AI is nothing to me but a hotspot of hypothesis experimentation. I don't need a filmmaker. I don't need a graphic designer. I don't need a music arranger. I can sit down and be like, I have this idea. I think it would work. and then I can come up with a really good example. Um, as opposed to trying to get everybody to fully understand your vision, fully understand your heart, fully be as talented, be as cheap as, all of that stuff. So I think it's just figuring out how can I personally show you what I'm trying to tell you is worth believing in.
Yeah, I think, the scripture talks without vision, the people perish.
Right.
And mistakenly, I think there was a season where I thought vision was ideas. Right. And there is a proof of concept. This is a proof.
Mhm.
Almost like a coin, a proof coin. This is the first coin of a million coins. This is the proof. From this one, we can make, all of the pennies that don't exist anymore. We can do this from this proof of concept. And I think I handed out a lot of ideas, even in pastoral ministry, that were fantastic, when I should have handed out coins. Like, hey, look at all these proofs. This, hold it, study it, hate it, love it, whatever. But you can feel this, as opposed to the idea of a thing.
Yeah.
And that is another step in also, right, you trying to convince people. Like it's this is the better way for me. I can't create yet. I have to do a proof of concept, get them to buy in, convince them. Then now we can target, aim, collaborate, move.
Absolutely.
Okay. You come back from Bethel, you're living here. It sounds like when you were there, you weren't trying to give them 50% of what the South, the Southeast, charismatic movements brought, whatever. But you were bringing 5%.
Yeah.
Whatever. Just, I think that's why we push against it. Because when people are coming, they're trying to say, hey, you need to be 50-50. As opposed to that like 80-20 cotton blend that is so soft. Like I can be 100% better by adopting 5% of what they do. I don't have to adopt all 50%.
Yeah.
And they don't have to abandon 50% of what they do. If they only adopted 5% of what, they're 100% better because it was that.
Yeah.
And
it's really good.
I think that in ministry, we have tried really hard to merge 100% of what they're doing with 100% of what we're doing. So we're going to keep everything we've been doing because we love it. And we're going to do everything they're doing because it's working. And innovation has become the result of our fear of extinction. I'm afraid we're going extinct.
Okay.
So we got to innovate.
Yeah.
My church is losing people. The business is going, like last year we didn't make as much profit as this year. And so it's not innovating for the sake of innovating. It's innovating out of a fear of extinction. And then we're keeping everything we're doing and adding everything they're doing to it. You're now in the South. You're here in 3 or 4 churches or maybe 6 churches. I don't know how many that you're doing.
Yeah.
Are you sensing a few specific things that you're bringing that you're noticing this blend is special?
Yeah.
What are those things?
I would probably say one of the biggest things for me that I've always noticed that would get me favor in a lot of church environments is one of my main goals is unity. Unity with the pastor, unity with the people, unity with the team. So if I go somewhere for the first time, obviously it's very difficult because they don't know me, I don't know them, so on and so forth. But if I've been there a little bit and I hear the pastor is always like, oh man, I just wish that we could do this a little different. And then everybody in the room's like, yeah, that would be really good. But I noticed 3 months later, he's making the same statement. I'm like, okay, how when I have the opportunity, can I bring that element he's talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And what a lot of people don't realize is that's actually bringing unity to the room as a whole, because now he feels honored. the team also gets a proper respect because he's like, oh wow, they were actually listening to me. I didn't even tell them they had to do it. I just kept bringing it up. But then I think the unity is what creates such a completely different environment. Because most of the time, what I've noticed shuts down a room, shuts down a team, shuts down trust between a pastor and staff and all of that, is somebody who is really bent on making sure that they get the pat on the back for making something work, as opposed to that we all leave church and be like, wow, it felt like we were all on the same page today.
Yeah.
Unity to me is the secret weapon that almost every ministry does not pay enough attention to. So to me, if you added unity, almost everything would flow way better. It's not agreement necessarily. It's not like we're all on the same page about every single topic and we don't have a mind of our own. But it is a facet of when we all come together, we are locked arm in partnership for one specific goal. I would also say that it is super helpful to speak life over the people that you are around. So finding ways to not just tell somebody they're great and they're talented and they're awesome and they're appreciated, because I think plenty of people do that. I think it is finding ways to let someone know their value outside of their seat. So to me, a very easy example of this is often when I'll see a worship leader prayed for or a songwriter prayed for, 9.9 times out of 10, the pastor is going to say, we thank you, Lord, that you're giving them more songs. We thank you, Lord, songs of heaven, that the whole world would hear the sound of their heart, sound of worship, so on and so forth, so on and so forth, so on and so forth. I'm like, if that worship leader is worth their salt, they could care less about another song, about their sound reaching to the ends of the earth. They already write songs. God is already using them. Almost always, they don't need that. What they need is you need to pray over their marriage. You need to, they have this random hobby idea in their mind to create a graphic novel or to create a Broadway show or to get involved in real estate or to do something totally different. And you are missing the opportunity to value them because you are so stuck on their seat. They're in a seat of worship leaders, so that means all of my prayers have to be worship adjacent, which in essence means, in what way are you beneficial to me? I need you to write more songs.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then why? Probably because I would prefer for you to write more songs, as opposed to if you go off and become a real estate agent, well, that doesn't benefit me. You're probably going to leave my church. I don't want to say that. So I think it is finding a way. How can you honor somebody for the value that they are, for the seat that they don't sit in? That to me is what makes the biggest difference. Churches that are glad that me and Kennedy come through, I'm sure they appreciate our talent. I'm sure they appreciate all of the ministerial facets. But what I know keeps them anchored to us is that it is the facet of, they know when we walk here, if we find out that somebody's brother is sick, or if we find out that somebody is having an issue with their kids or a marriage, they know at the end of the day, if we only have 5 minutes to talk, those are the things we're going to ask about. So I think people really cut themselves off from the power ministry can hold because we don't know how to communicate with people when we're not communicating with their seat labels.
Tyler, would you say that just comes from it requires a leader of any lane to know the leader beyond the seat? Like, I mean, if all I'm praying for is their worship ministry or their prayer ministry, maybe it's because I don't know that leader. So how are you guys fostering, maybe in the places you guys go, fostering relationships to know them beyond just whatever they serve?
If I'm honest, I don't know if I have much of a relationship with almost any of them outside of what they serve. I think for me, it's almost like I'm making Jeff the guinea pig here on all these examples, but it is a scenario like, even though we haven't talked in years and our last real interactions was you being like, Tyler, get out. there is a facet of all I have to do is open my eyes and open my ears and pay attention, and you are explaining yourself to me of the facets that should be valued in you.
Yeah.
The second you asked a certain question or put language and all of that in a certain way, I'm like, golly, how does he thinks like that so naturally. Now, maybe that was something that was curated. Maybe you came out of the womb like that. Couldn't tell you. But it is a situation where, like, all I really have to do is pay attention, and those people will tell you those value facets. So then I don't have to be like, what are your dreams about language? Are you a poet? Do you write books? Or do you, I'm like, that could exist. That could not exist. But it is evident if I open my eyes and ears to pay attention, the value that is already on you, ministerial or not.
Yeah.
So to me, that would be the biggest thing. Because I don't think any of those people at any of those churches, I mean, we don't go out to eat. We don't text during the week. I mean, we don't really see or talk to any of them until we show up on Sunday. And so and even in those moments, it's not like we're getting like tons of bonding time to figure out like what's new or all that stuff.
Yeah, I think there are some common seats that everyone shares that we often ignore, or we make the assumption that they're okay. That if you're sitting well in the worship seat, then your husband's seat must be also awesome. Your seat as a son, your relationship with your parents is probably perfect without any drama and any issues. You have no father issues because you sing tenor so great. So I assume that all the other seats are great because that one that you do in front of everyone that you're paid to do, you're proficient. And even in ministry moments, I'm preaching somewhere and I'm talking to somebody, and it's like second nature at this point. If I find someone in their 20s and they're talking to me, and I'll say, "Oh, are you married? Oh, are you married?" And if they're like, "No," I was like, "Oh, well, do you want to be?" Well, yeah. Well, can I pray for that right now? It doesn't matter if they're a real estate agent. They probably would prefer to have someone to walk life with that loves them and loves the Lord, and then to have a couple extra sales this year. And I think we make the assumptions that seats, that if you're sitting well in one seat, that the other seats, it's just, a given. Do you carry that with you as like, does that feel like an assignment for you? Like when you're going into places, are the people, the unity, is that what you carry?
I would probably say so. I'm sure half of it comes from spending several years. I came from a very well-known ministry family. Then I went into a group of 100 talented, anointed, powerful people, and then went to another ministry surrounded by big personalities and so on and so forth. So it's very easy for me to relate to all the people in a room who are questioning why they're there, wondering if I was gone, would anybody notice? Second guessing your gifts and what brought you into the room. Is that even necessary? All of that stuff. So I think for me, I naturally lean to that, mainly for the heart and the soul of that person, wanting them to know the truth of their value, of their place, all of that good stuff. Also, a small twinge on top of that would probably be, I hate the bully mindset, whether it's spoken or unspoken, of some people walking in and thinking that all those things that those people are not, they are. If they were gone, this would crumble. If they were gone, this couldn't function. They are the most talented, the most anointed. They have the word to say, so on and so forth. So I think as a heart for those people, as well as a heart of justice, of silencing that bully attitude, I think that combo puts me in a spot where I'm just way more aware of it.
Okay, so it's an awareness.
It's probably a little bit more minded.
It's an awareness.
Oh, it's definitely aware.
Okay. Yeah. Do you
If I go to Dunkin' Donuts, I'm thinking like that.
Everywhere. It doesn't matter.
Everywhere.
If you watch 4 or 5 waitresses at Aubrey's and you notice you can see all of these things happening.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I remember I would be in rooms And I knew it wasn't my imagination. It wasn't like one of those things where if I had a mentor or something, they could be like, no, Tyler, everybody thinks you're amazing. We're all so glad you're here. I knew that nobody had any regard for me in the room. That if I was not in the room, people would not care. I know that was a fact. I know that nobody wanted to hear me tell a joke. Nobody wanted to hear me say a prayer. Nobody wanted to hear me lead worship. Nobody wanted me to give my opinion. Nobody, any of that. So since I'm so well acquainted with that, I also remember in my brain being like, I know I have something to offer. I know nobody wants it, but I also know I have something to give. And so when I walk into certain rooms, I'm very much acquainted to the feeling of the people who don't feel like they have anything to offer, yet somehow internally they are convinced they do have something to offer. And I'm like, I will gladly remind you, you're not crazy. You actually do have something to offer. And not just like a pity offer, like it would be a nice little token for you to have something to say. No, actually, we are all missing out until you come to the fullness of what you're supposed to be. So I think that's just where my brain goes.
Would you say that's a spiritual giftedness that's in you, or just something that you're aware of because you walk through it?
I would probably guess 50-50. If I had, though, to guess, if I only had to pick one, I would probably say because I'd been through it.
Thanks for listening to part 1 of A Couple of Nobodies with Tyler Richardson. In part 2, you get the same nobodies, Brian and Jeff, along with Tyler, continuing to dig into their conversation. And we still encourage you to be authentic, follow Jesus, do good, and stay faithful.